Let my dad go and I'll make you walk. The court laughed until they saw the judge get up alone. The wooden gavel struck once. All rise, the bailiff announced. Before we dive in, let me know in the comments. Where are you watching this from? I love seeing how far this message reaches. Let's begin. Everyone stood as Judge Richard Donnelly rolled into the courtroom, his black robe flowing over the sides of his wheelchair. At 62, his presence was still commanding. His paralyzed legs didn't weaken the authority in his steel blue eyes. He'd spent the last 10 years delivering sentences with a reputation for being merciless, especially toward men like the one seated in front of him today. A black man in his late 30s, hands cuffed in front, wearing a faded peach prison jumpsuit, sat silently at the defendant's table. His name, Darius Moore, charged with obstruction, fraud, and resisting arrest. The court saw another number, another file in the stack. To Judge Donnelly, it was open and shut. Repeat offender. No visible remorse. The room buzzed with tension as the trial approached its final moment, sentencing. The prosecutor stood. Your Honor, the people recommend no less than 15 years. The defendant has wasted this court's time with outrageous claims of false imprisonment, despite all evidence pointing otherwise. He lied about who he is, lied about what he can do. It's time he faced the consequences. Darius lowered his head. His public defender remained silent. She'd stopped fighting hours ago. Donnelly straightened in his chair, ready to speak. But then it happened. The heavy courtroom doors creaked open. A soft patter of small footsteps echoed across the chamber. Gasps followed. A little black girl, no older than 7, stepped quietly into the room. She wore a light blue dress, hair neatly tied into 2 braids. No adults accompanied her. No one stopped her. She walked straight down the aisle past rows of spectators, past murmuring lawyers and stunned bailiffs, until she stood directly in front of Judge Donnelly's bench. Who is this child? The judge barked, confusion flashing across his face. Before anyone could answer, the girl looked up at him with calm, unblinking eyes and said, Let my daddy go, and I'll make you walk. The courtroom exploded. Laughter burst from one of the gallery rows, a snort from the prosecution's table. Even one of the guards smirked. Donnelly blinked, visibly caught off guard. What did you just say? I said. If you let him go, she repeated, her voice steady, I'll make you walk. The judge leaned back, the disbelief evident on his face. This isn't a place for jokes or fairy tales. Bailiff, remove the girl. Please, Darius called out suddenly, rising halfway from his seat. Just let her speak. Sit down, Donnelly snapped. This is highly irregular. I came because you're not listening, the girl continued. Nobody listens to my dad. They don't know who he really is. Donnelly narrowed his eyes. And who is he exactly? He used to help people before you locked him up. He used to make them better. More chuckles. This time even the stenographer had to look down to hide her grin. Donnelly glanced at his clerk, visibly annoyed. Why is she even allowed in here? Who let her in? She's his daughter, the bailiff answered awkwardly. She walked in alone, refused to leave. We didn't know what to do. You should have stopped her at the door. We tried. The judge looked back at the girl. What's your name, child? Hope. The room fell silent again. Donnelly swallowed. Hope. I don't know what you think is going to happen here, but this is a courtroom, not a place for whatever this is. But this is exactly where it needs to happen, she replied. You've been sitting in that chair for 10 years, haven't you? Donnelly stiffened. That's not your concern. You couldn't feel your legs after the accident. They said your spine was broken, that you'd never walk again. His lips thinned. Enough. But you want to walk. Donnelly's hands gripped the wheels of his chair tightly. Hope stepped closer. The bailiff shifted. I'm not here to scare you, she said softly. But I'm asking you something no one else will. Please don't hurt my dad again. He didn't lie. You just didn't believe him. Donnelly glanced toward Darius. His jaw clenched. Hope lifted her hand slowly, as if reaching for something unseen. If you give him back to me, she whispered, I'll give something back to you. Donnelly opened his mouth, then paused. For the first time in a decade, he felt warmth. Not pain, not tingling, not an illusion, just a subtle heat, like sunlight soaking into his knees. He looked down, his legs, nothing had moved. Still, something felt different. He looked back at Hope. The courtroom was still. Hope reached her hand a little higher. Please, she said again. Let him go. Darius's face was trembling now, tears gathering beneath his eyes. She's not lying. The judge stared at the child in front of him, and for the first time in his career, he couldn't speak. The room held its breath. Judge Donnelly stared at the small hand reaching out to him, steady, unshaken. The warmth he'd felt moments ago hadn't faded. It was growing. Creeping through nerves long believed dead, an impossible flutter rose in his stomach. Hope didn't blink. She didn't pull her hand back. No one moved. The bailiffs looked to the judge for instructions, unsure if they should intervene. Donnelly slowly released the rims of his wheelchair. What are you doing to me? I'm not doing anything, she said gently. You're the one who's always wanted to walk. I'm just unlocking what's still inside you. You're a child, she nodded. And you're afraid. Donnelly's jaw clenched. You think this is fear? You think I'm scared of some fairy tale? No, Hope said. You're scared of being wrong. The words hit harder than he expected. His hands gripped the armrest because she was right. For 10 years, he'd accepted paralysis not just in his legs, but in his spirit, in his mind, in his judgments. The day he lost his ability to walk was the day he decided never to believe in anything he couldn't explain. He had built a life inside that wheelchair and locked the rest of the world out. He looked back at Darius, whose eyes were locked on his daughter, wide with awe, but not surprised. You knew she could do this? Darius swallowed. She's done things before, small things, little miracles, I thought. But I never asked her to. I never let her try this. Why now? Because I told her I wasn't going to make it out of here, that I might be gone a long time. And she said, not if I help. The judge turned back to Hope. The warmth had reached his thighs now. He blinked down at his legs. And for the first time in 10 years, he moved his right foot. The courtroom erupted. Gasps, screams, chair scraping. Hope didn't flinch. Darius stood from his bench, cuffed hands trembling. Judge, what's happening? Donnelly's face was pale. He looked down, disbelieving as his left foot shifted too. Then slowly, painfully, he pressed his palms on the arms of the chair and rose. He stood on both feet. The room went silent again. The prosecutor's mouth hung open. The bailiff took a step back, staring like he'd seen a ghost. Donnelly, Judge Richard Donnelly, stood tall, legs shaking beneath him, but standing. He tried to speak, but his throat closed. Hope stepped back and smiled. Now please, give me back my dad. The judge collapsed back into his seat, not from failure, but from disbelief. His whole body trembled. This is impossible. But no one was laughing anymore. The clerk whispered, Sir, what do we do now? Donnelly looked at the file in front of him. Darius's record, years of arrests, most dismissed, one charge, no conviction. And this current one, based on an anonymous tip. No hard evidence, no victim willing to testify. It had never sat right with him, but he buried it beneath assumptions. Bring me the arresting officer's report, he ordered, voice cracking. Within minutes, the courtroom was in motion. Paperwork shifted, documents emerged, and something else did too. Inconsistencies, timeline gaps, witness testimony that had been fabricated, it unraveled quickly. Within the hour, Judge Donnelly issued a full reversal of judgment. Mr. Darius Moore, he said slowly, voice shaking as he stood once more. You are hereby cleared of all charges. Your record will be expunged, and this court owes you an apology. Hope rushed to her father's arms. Darius dropped to his knees, still in chains, and hugged her tight. She did what she promised, he whispered, burying his face into her shoulder. Donnelly approached slowly. I want to know how she did that. Darius stood and looked him in the eye. She didn't heal you. She reminded you that you could heal yourself. Donnelly shook his head. That doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to. Donnelly paused, then smiled for the first time in years. You're free, Mr. Moore. Bailiff, remove his chains. The shackles hit the floor with a clatter. Darius lifted Hope into his arms as tears streamed down both their faces. They turned to leave, but just before they reached the doors, the judge called out, "Hope?" She turned back. "Thank you," she nodded. "Now maybe you can believe again." If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more emotional, dramatic, and unexpected tales. And let us know in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? We love hearing from all of you. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep watching.